Welcome to the vlog. It's been a little while since I put out a video. Feels kind of weird talking to the camera again. But I'd wish I'd had better news saying I did a lot of training over the last week, but I've basically done a zero, not even on the trainer. So I really hate going on the trainer. So it's kind of, for me, it's always a real big struggle. But I'm back at it again this week. I've been commuting and training again, so I feel a lot better. I can definitely feel that week of rest is good and bad. Watching my fatigue numbers come down is really nice. This way I can prepare to do some really hard training. But at the same time, I can definitely feel that I've been off the bike for a few days, so that's not good. But anyways, on today I wanted to talk a little bit about bike safety. So on Facebook in my area, there's been a lot of bicycle deaths. So even though the weather gets pretty warm here, like I think my Garmin says about 100 degrees right now, you know, that's pretty warm, but people still want to come out, enjoy the canals. We've got a lot of really nice bike paths and canals that people ride on, and even on most of our roads have a dedicated bike lane. So there's more and more people out on bikes, and it's just, at this time of the year, it's, you know, really sad to see all these Facebook posts of, you know, families losing cyclists. And, you know, recently it's been two ladies who lost family and they both had kids. So, you know, that's really sad. But regardless of whose fault it is, you know, the cyclist always loses, right? So whether the cyclist is at fault or the motorist, what ends up happening most of the time is that the cyclist loses. There's really no competition against a vehicle. So as cyclists, we both have to be watching out for our own safety, even if we're doing everything right. So I just wanted to talk about a couple tips on what I do personally to help stay safe as I commute every day and train on my city roads. So 5 tips, maybe plus one. I'll start off is wearing a helmet. So in Arizona, it's not the law that if you're on a bike you're required to wear a helmet, but realistically there's no reason not to. Every bicycle helmet that you're going to buy here in the US is safety rated, so there's a minimum safety that all helmets have to meet. So whether you have a $20 helmet or a $200 helmet, you're going to get at least a minimum amount of protection guaranteed. So that's a plus, and you can go to any of the big box stores and buy helmets for 20 bucks. They're even cheaper for little kids. So there's really no reason not to have a helmet. They last a long time. You know, if you crash, you're going to want to replace it. But otherwise, helmets last a long time. This helmet, I think I got as a gift, but it was $100 and it's lasted me, I think I'm going on 4 or 5 years now, which I could probably go to replacing it, but the rubber's not falling apart. On the outside, it kind of has a hard plastic shell that's not coming apart from the styrofoam, so I've been putting it off myself, but I could probably do for a refurb. So number 2, what I think will help a lot of people is riding on canals. So the canals that I ride on, basically there's no vehicles. So some places have dedicated bike paths. It's pretty much the same thing. At least one side or the other is going to be paved, not always, but we have really good city maps dictating which ones do and don't. So what I do is to and from work, I take the shortest route possible from the canal to work, and then vice versa. So I end up riding the same kind of routes day to day, which can get kind of boring, but it's the safest for me. So this way I only have to do about 4 miles on the road on a dedicated bike lane as part of the road, and then once I can jump on the canal here, like what's behind me, I can finish the second half of my route without cars. So I have to cross a couple major streets, but it's not really a big deal. I kind of wait for a lull in the traffic, and then some people, if maybe you don't have the coordination to kind of get through the cars, they actually have stoplights. So you can actually stop traffic coming in both directions and then cross. So the canals are a really great way for people who are inexperienced or just a little bit weary still of riding on the roads with all these accidents. The canals are a great place to go, and they're usually a mile or a little bit longer in length between stops, so you're not constantly stopping and starting. Number 3, which I find really beneficial, are bike lights. So I have a front light here and also a rear light, and they never come off the bike. If I'm gonna do a race, sure, I take them off, not a big deal. But while I'm commuting, if I'm just gonna go around the corner, they never come off the bike. I use rechargeable batteries. They're not the greatest. They basically last 1 full week. And then, you know, during the winter when it's kind of dark to and from work, if my front light ends up going out, it goes out sooner, so I'll just swap the front light, the front battery to the front, and then vice versa. And then that'll usually at least get me home, and then I'll throw in a fresh pair of batteries. So at home, I've got a little mount on the wall that takes 4 AA batteries, and then I always using 2 at a time. So this way my batteries are always topped off. I'm never without them day or night, because in even though it gets really hot here in the summer, we get a lot of rain. So I usually don't ride in the rain, but sometimes you can't avoid it where you'll just get a sneak shower in. You definitely want to have lights, and even during the day I'll run my lights because a lot of time the motorists will be looking down, texting on their phone, which you shouldn't be doing. And if you're in a distance, your shape, your profile doesn't really change. So if they look up and then look down really fast, there's nothing catching their eye to notice, oh, there's a person on the side of the road. But if you've got that red blinking light, if they look up, they're gonna see that blinking out of the corner of their eye, and then they're gonna gravitate that and say, oh, there's somebody coming, let me wait to pass them. So that's the front and the rear. So one of the 2 deaths I was talking about, somebody was actually hit from the front. So they were going through an intersection, had the right of way, and a car didn't see them, and then made a right-hand turn, and basically the bike ran straight into the side of the car, ended up going underneath. But yeah, so you still have to be careful from the cars in front of you. And then, you know, if you're a cyclist, you need to keep your head up. I know I do a lot of training out on my rides, so I end up getting, you know, pretty winded. But you tend to want to look down. I really don't know why people tend to look down when they're really struggling. But you have to keep your eyes up and being aware of what traffic, make sure you're not crossing over lines. And then, like I said, even if you're in the right, crossing an intersection and you end up hitting a car, though it's not your fault, you know, you're the one that's gonna be paying the bill. So definitely look out for yourself. So after after you've got your lights on, the next what I recommend is wearing some pretty bright clothing. So cycling kit comes in a lot of different colors. Usually shorts just come in black, so that's not really a big deal. And then I've got a red shirt on here, you can kind of see it from my arms. And then on this bike I use a backpack. So it's a really bright lime green backpack. So it sticks out a little bit, it's not too much. When it rains, my rain cover is red, so it adds a little bit more visibility. And then, you know, in addition with the lights, it adds a little visibility from behind on cars seeing you. And it's poor bike maintenance. So your bike is a tool, so you gotta make sure it's clean, you gotta make sure it's topped off, and especially the brakes. So brakes get worn out, and especially here in Arizona because it's so hot, you know, your brakes are just rubber pads. So people stick their bikes in the garage, leave them outside, and the rubber actually gets really hard, and it doesn't provide a good grip surface on the aluminum wheels, which are pretty much all inexpensive bikes. So you have to be sure to replace your brake pads, even though they may not be worn all the way. You know, it just gives you more efficient braking. And you say, well, I don't really brake that much while I'm riding, I kind of brake slowly. Well, the point of brakes is to stop, and if you've got to brake suddenly to avoid an obstacle or avoid a car maybe, you know, you want your brakes to stop. So by having old brakes, by having poor bike maintenance, you know, that's going to be delayed. And you know, when emergencies happen, every second counts. So you definitely want to spend a few dollars. It's usually just maybe $10 or $20 if you have them installed to replace your brakes. So it's not that big of an expense. And a lot of times, bike shop, if you get a full bike tune-up, they'll throw in the labor as long as you buy the parts. So it's not really that big of a deal. You should be having your bike looked at regularly anyway. So those are my couple tips. I want to make sure that all our Arizona cyclists and all our international cyclists are being safe out on the roads. You know, we want more and more cyclists to be riding, and to do that we need to be safe, we need to look out for each other. And then as well, I don't drive a car a whole lot except for maybe on the weekends, so I need to remember to keep these same tips in mind when cyclists are on the roads. You know, keep your phone away, keep your head up, and ride safe. I hope these were helpful. If you've got some other tips that I missed, let me know. I might do a second part or two if I think of a couple other things to add. But you know, as a cycling community, we want to keep growing. We want to get one more car off the road. So get out and get commuting. You know, have a friend join you. Safety in numbers adds a little bit more to your visibility, so if you can find a riding partner, you know, that's definitely a good option as well. All right, hit me up in the comments with your suggestions. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Be safe.